Next up, Drew Dober, Terrance McKinney. I mean, we go from barely seeing him to like him just taking fights like crazy. I mean, there's no well-suited fighter for the UFC in terms of excitement, head on his shoulders, great storyline in terms of his come-up. Everything about him screams fan favorite, and he's proving his point. You know, you think about how much he's going to give up in reach and should still be the bigger fighter. You know, I kind of want to see him do a lot more of that wrestling. I think Drew Dobb over the course of 3 rounds might be able to find his combinations and throw those big leg kicks. But the big thing for me is the creativity and versatility with Drew Dober. I always feel like he kind of sits back on the same 1-2s and the big leg kicks. It's just sometimes it seems like the elite fighters are able to get those reads and work their way into some nice openings. But for Terrance, I think it's going to be the wrestling. I think he will be kind of a force in that fight. He should be able to ride top position. The thing from Drew Dober is his ability to kind of just work from his back, work with his footwork. Like, that's where he excels. And so I think that's my favorite part about Drew Dober's game, is despite coming off like this prototypical kickboxer, you know, his Elevation Fight Team experience is clearly paying off. And in this fight, there's something about the under that just stands out to me in a big way. And the reason why I say that is Drew Dober, in terms of just, you know, how the fight can potentially go and how Terrance McKinney's been looking, some side of luck, some side of skill, but there is that opportunity for Terrance McKinney to do what he does best in the first 1 to 1.5 rounds. But also, we've seen what Terrance McKinney can look like when he goes balls to the wall over 3 rounds. And I have a feeling that Drew Dober, in the 3rd round, should the fight get there, has some opportunity to maybe finish the fight himself. Cardio is going to be a factor. His power might carry over, especially if he's not throwing huge in the first couple rounds. There's a lot to be said about how this fight can go, you know, especially when you consider Terrance McKinney's trajectory versus where we've seen Drew Dober. I feel like he's been teetering over the last year or two, and, you know, big fights like this where he's getting the names need to be the ones where he wins. And so if I'm looking at the way Drew Dober, he's got to keep the distance, right? He's got to use those kicks. He's got to keep McKinney at bay, because for him, it's the boxing and the wrestling that really makes him so dangerous. And on the ground, he's an absolute monster. I think he's able to smother guys. He incorporates jiu-jitsu very well with his wrestling. And yeah, it's just, you can tell by the way he's able to smother his opponents, that wrestling and BJJ combination really makes him just a complete leech. Like, it's really fun to watch him fight, especially when he incorporates some of that technical skill. So for me, McKinney's road to victory there's pretty simple, right? It's using that power in the early going, but if you can't land it, start looking for those level changes. Use the clinches. Why stand there with Drew Dober, who's really going to be looking to set up some big power shots and some pretty heavy combos with those kicks? And so I got McKinney at -140. I think it makes sense to give him the favorite here. He's got a lot in his bag to be able to pull out if his cardio holds up for 3 rounds. But at the same time, it's almost like you want to give him a bit of bump early, but then, you know, Drew Dober could easily start taking over if McKinney starts to lose a bit of gas. So let's take a look here. -140 McKinney. And yeah, I mean, Terrance McKinney coming in as another underdog. I mean, we pounded him last time out and we got that one. +130 opener, now actually moving up to about +140 across the board. Drew Dober opens to -150 and now coming in as high as a -170. Little surprising for me, but I mean, I think that's a very close fight, but, you know, those lines really suggest that we're going to have to see where things are come weigh-in day and, you know, as we head into the fight, so stay tuned for that.